Hey there, listeners. Welcome to Hines On Air, your weekly dose of inspiration, motivation, and real-life entrepreneurial stories. I'm Matt Hines, your host, and I'm excited to have you join me on this journey. From building a successful law firm to venturing into other industries like real estate and social media, I've experienced both the triumphs and the challenges that come with entrepreneurship. I've learned firsthand the importance of resilience, adaptability, and a relentless pursuit of excellence. On Hines On Air, we're diving deep into the world of business, law, and personal growth. Join me as I chat with incredible guests who have faced adversity, defied expectations, and achieved extraordinary success. We'll discuss their strategies, their mindset, and the lessons they've learned along the way. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, a seasoned business owner, or simply someone looking for a little inspiration, Hines On Air is for you. Remember to subscribe, like, and leave a review whenever you listen to podcasts. Your support helps us reach more people and continue sharing these incredible stories. Let's get started. Hey everybody, it's Matt Hines. We're back with another Hines On Air. We got a very, very interesting show with you today. Miss Amy Ray Davis is here, and she is a teacher of law, but she has done many things in her life, and some of the most fascinating things we're going to be discussing today is her involvement in many high-profile murder cases, some of which you've heard about, some of which are ongoing right now, but she's got some really exciting stories, and we're looking forward to talking with her today. So welcome, Amy.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, we appreciate you being here. All right, so the first one, I know there's a lot to talk about. It's kind of hard where to pick, but Mark David Chapman.
Okay.
All right, I think most people know he was the guy that shot John Lennon. I know you were involved in that somehow. Can you tell us the extent there?
That one was more of me getting interested in parole and how it works, and learning how like the parole board kind of becomes like a quasi judge and jury.
Yeah.
They can add time, they can take away time, they can do all those things. And so I started getting interested in these high profile individuals because I was looking at the amount of influence that was going into keeping them in prison. And I was kind of curious what else was going on there, because if you have shenanigans basically that are happening in these big cases, what's happening to the average John and Jane?
Yeah.
And so I ended up reaching out to Mark David Chapman, but it was because I knew somebody who had spent time undercover at Attica. And
that's where he is?
I don't know if he still is there or not, but he was at one point. But Jack Jones was a reporter at one point, and he went undercover there at Attica. And that's how I met both Mark David Chapman and David Berkowitz.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's Son of Sam.
Yeah.
Oh, so you've talked to both of them?
Yes.
All right, so let's talk about Mr. Chapman.
Okay.
So you called him. What did y'all say to each other?
We actually communicated through JPay, and which is the prison mail system. There's also Securus and Getting Out. Depends on what tablet system the prison uses. But basically, I just kind of introduced myself. I said, please reach out to Jack. He'll tell you that I'm a legit person, and just said, can I talk to you about these things? And so he was kind of standoffish at first, because I guess he's used to people kind of reaching out and wanting the grim stuff, wanting to know, like, what were you thinking at the time? And, what did it look like? I mean, all kinds of gross things that he gets. But then it was one of those things that he kind of started coming around, and he started talking to me about the fact that, Yoko Ono has a lot of influence on his case, which is what I was ultimately after.
But she's pushing the parole board to deny it each time,
yes.
I'm assuming. Because I think I read, this is Wikipedia, so take it with a grain of salt, but 13 times he was denied parole.
I believe that's about.
I don't know when that was written. That's what I.
But he's never going to get out because it's a high profile case, which I actually take. I don't know. I take issue with that because it's one of those cases where we look at John Hinckley, who got released not long ago. And John Hinckley, it was a case where he was a threat to one person at one point in time, and he is somehow let out. And that was for a sitting president. And albeit, he didn't kill Reagan, but I still feel like, I don't know. I feel like there's a difference that maybe we're elevating the celebrity a little much. I don't know, but it's just weird that he can't get out.
So you think if Chapman shot somebody else, he would have gotten out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
That sounds, I would agree with that. From what I've studied, he regretted it pretty soon afterwards.
He did.
Let me ask you this. This is way getting off at the conspiracy madness and all, and I don't know if you touched on this, delving into the parole question. But Nixon was a big enemy or did not like John Lennon, from what I understand.
Okay.
All right. And when I see stories like this, where somebody who has no idea why they're doing it, really, yeah, he says it was because they said they're bigger than Jesus or stupid reasons. Right. But shortly afterwards, it's like, what the hell did I just do?
Yes.
There was something going on, CIA, whatever type stuff, called PDHing, pain drug hypnosis. And you see it on the movies where you'll have, whether it's a government agent or some terrorist or whatever, in a room, somebody under the influence of drugs getting suggestions while they're under the influence and under extreme duress and all.
Okay.
And after they go away from that, they are affected. They are, you could say, I mean, they're hypnotized in a way to where they can sort of do things that they don't really know why. And I don't know. I don't know if there's some connection between all that and Nixon's hatred of Lennon. I don't know if you ever. I know. Again, it's reaching, but I don't doubt it.
I have not. Listen, that's my rabbit hole for the night. Because I have never heard of that before. But no, that's a valid question, though.
You know, he's Lennon's against the war. Lennon's, just stirring up trouble with the Vietnam and all that kind of stuff. And I could see Nixon, somebody who wants total control, and is already a little bit of a sociopath. I mean, he just, if he thinks you're any type of an enemy, then
right.
I just read his enemies list, Nixon's enemy list, where he lists all the people that he perceived as his enemy.
Oh.
And he would use FBI and the IRS to go harass and different things to try to remove them from. But anyway.
Is that what Blacklist is based on? The show?
Maybe. I'm not familiar with that show, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. You got to check that out then.
List, okay.
Yes, because that has has like a central bad guy, right? But he ends up he has this list, but he's like, listen, I'll bring those people in, but they're all people that are on his list, and he's using the FBI to do it, to get rid of them.
Oh, wow. Okay. Is that a Netflix or what is that?
Probably.
Okay, Blacklist.
Blacklist. It's really good.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, good. So you talk with Chapman, and what did he say? He's like, yeah, I'm trying to get out. I'm explaining to him that I regret it. I'm trying to show that I'm a person now.
He's basically, well, okay, so his thing is, and this is not uncommon for people to like really find religion when they're in prison. Mm-hmm. But he's become really, really religious, and he's done things to rehabilitate his life and do what, he needs to do according to what they want. And he still is up against the wall every single time. And so it's not uncommon. Like David Berkowitz at one point had said that he was giving up his right, for parole at that point because he can't do it. Like he's just not going to participate. And again, it's one of those things that they still keep at it, but sometimes you get shut down. As a matter of fact, another really good case that kind of illustrates this is Harry De La Roche out of New Jersey. Harry De La Roche was convicted in 1974 of killing his mom, his dad, and his two brothers. And he claimed that he killed just one brother, that he came home and that the brother had killed the others. So he went in as a very young man, and he spent all this time in prison, and he kept going before the parole board, and they kept wanting him, of course, to admit, I did this. They would give him his list of stuff that he needed to do, but they would still never give him parole. And he finally just got out last year.
When was he convicted?
1974.
Jeez. And he still says he didn't do it.
Yeah, he still says it was just the one brother.
Was he trying to protect the rest of the family or something? Or why did he admit to killing the one brother?
Retribution, I guess, for the one, killing the other ones.
Okay, so they were already dead.
They were already dead.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's just something that happens, and they can't kind of get a fair shake. But the parole board's an issue, it seems like, really, no matter what state you're in.
They just kind of want to keep you there.
Yeah, Kenneth Bianchi's case was actually the first one that got me interested in that whole topic, because in Washington State, they have to give you a copy of your file before you go in for parole or for your hearing. And they didn't give him his packet until 18 months after his hearing date. And so he didn't show up for his hearing. And so they gave him an additional 10 years because he didn't come participate.
Oh, God.
And it was like, how can you you're not even doing your part. He doesn't do his part, and you're punishing him? That doesn't make any sense.
No. Patrick Bet David, you ever heard that podcaster? Patrick Bet David? Anyway, he's got a pretty popular show right now, and he did a study, or was just showing statistics on the amount of people in jail related to when jails became privatized.
I believe it.
And it's crazy because I forgot how long ago. Let's assume it was 1990 or whatever, when they started to privatize jails, meaning it was a business now.
Yes.
And the more people in your jail, the more you get paid.
Yes.
So there's a large motivation to keep people in prison. This is crazy. This is like Nazi Germany type crap. But anyway, it is. So anyway, if you look at the graph he shows, it's like a moderate rise over time, and then it just shoots up through the roof. And it's date coincident with when the jails were privatized. And it's crazy that America does that, but I would imagine that's some of the stuff going on with this parole boards is they're like, we got to keep bodies in the shop here. We got to keep bodies.
That.
Yeah. I don't know that, but it's logical.
I've had people, say that they firmly believe that part of the problem is they let out the people that they know who are going to come back. So they'll release those people, and it's, they'll get them back. It's okay. Wow. But we don't want to release the other ones. There was a guy who was just recently, last year, I believe, he was just recently let out of prison in Ohio after he was sentenced in the early 90s. Their laws changed twice, and his sentence that he would have received kept going down according to the law changes. So he went from a life to, it would have been, I think 10 years would have been the max, and he had been in there for over 30 years at that point. And it's these law changes end up, kind of screwing things up as well, and making it so that, because you're sentenced over here, you have to stay in this little box.
Yeah, that's messed up. Under the Reagan administration, I think people would go to jail for 25 years for marijuana. Not a joint, large amounts, but It's marijuana.
Right.
And now it's legal in states.
Yeah.
That to me is, there was a funny picture of a guy. He used to smuggle marijuana for the cartels in Mexico. He put this up on YouTube or something, and he had gone to jail and been in jail for 30-something years for smuggling marijuana, and he was standing in front of some picture that says it's legal here or something. Anyway, it's funny. All right, just to close up on Chapman, you called Chapman. He gave you sort of what he was experiencing there. And your goal was to help him get parole, or what? Why'd you?
Well, my goal was to kind of understand. I really wanted to put together. Really, I was kind of thinking more of a book or a project or something. But I kept running into walls of where people didn't want to participate. They didn't want to talk about their cases on those levels, which I understood. I'm not going to disrespect anybody's right to protect their case. But I was just interested in that little facet of it. I talked to Leslie Van Houten before she got out.
I apologize. I don't know who that is.
Oh, one of the Manson people.
Gotcha.
And again, you have these people who are just being very tight-lipped about, their cases. And just, again, I was just interested in the parole aspect. But that was what I wanted. But it's not what happened.
When you say that's what I want, that's what you wanted to professionally?
I wanted to make it into a book. I wanted to make it so that people would know what's going on.
Right.
With the paroles and these possibilities and what's happening when people are getting denied. There's a lot of times that, they put together these packets to go to the parole boards. And these packets include things like letters from, potential employers and places where they can live and their family and other people that support them and all this stuff. And I had somebody who was a friend of mine on a parole board who told me flat out, she said, we make up our minds before we even get to the hearing. Mm. And she's like, it's based largely on what comes in that packet. And I'm like, but that's kind of crazy. But then you also have a lot of people who've been in there for a very long time. And it's like, what happens when you have people who don't have family anymore?
Yeah.
What happens when you have people who have been in for literally their lives?
Right.
And, they're going to have to be a little creative about what they do next. What happens there? You just keep them? And that's what happens.
Mm. Yeah, that's sad. How was talking to David Berkowitz?
It was, I don't know. It wasn't as interesting as I thought it would be.
He's probably over it. Probably maybe you move on to the next.
He's
been in there for 40, how long has he been?
But he's been in there since the 70s.
70s?
Yeah, I think
If
so.
people don't know, the Son of Sam, I think he would find couples. Like, he killed couples, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. But his dog told him.
Dog told him.
That's right, the dog. Neighbor's dog.
Neighbor's dog. Darn that
I
dog.
watch those neighbor's dogs.
Yep. There's a black dog, too.
What's this? Okay. All right, so it's my understanding there's something more recent, a case involving Heather Turner.
Yes.
All right. Give the audience sort of, bring them up to speed. What's happening with this case? How did it start and where are we now?
So it started when she was found dead on May 4th, 2017. And it started with a 911 call. And the 911 call was her husband, saying that he needed help. He said that his wife had shot herself. And the problem with this, though, is that as the call goes on, it's about 14 and a half minutes. You hear the operator telling him things like, make sure you're doing 100 compressions a minute. That man is still sitting there holding that phone. He is not doing any compressions. You hear no labored breathing out of him. He's not doing any of that stuff. And then his mom gets there at one point, and you hear him say, allegedly, you hear what sounds like, Mama, I killed her.
Allegedly, though, but y'all have the tape, right?
Oh, yeah, we do.
So do you not know that's what he says? Or
well, okay.
Why do you say allegedly?
Because he's gone on to say that he said, no, Mama, I tried to save her. That's not what he said, though. In that video, in those videos, you can hear him say very specifically, I killed her. And why the police did nothing about this, I have absolutely no idea. But she was in a situation where she was going to be leaving him the following day.
Divorce.
She
or
was
just moving out the house and all.
Yes, she was leaving, and that's a dangerous time for anybody who's in a domestic violence situation.
He had been beating her.
I don't know that necessarily it was physical only. I don't know. I've been told that there was sexual abuse, that there was emotional abuse. I've seen some of the videos. I've seen some of the pictures. Even the last picture that he actually posts of her, that he claims, was the very last picture taken. Even in that picture, her mouth looks swollen. And it's just funny because he happened to document this last meal that she made. And, it happened to be the meal that his favorite meal, but he can't even remember, when he's talking about this being like the last meal, even the contents of the meal changes when he's recounting the story. And there's certain things that are just weird, but his whole, his whole take on the whole story has also changed as well. Like on the 911 call, they ask where the daughter is, and he said she's asleep in the other room. You literally do not hear this kid at any point during this 911 call. Okay, and she would have been like 7, 8 years old at the time. I don't know about you. I have kids. I couldn't go to the bathroom without my kids still coming by and knocking on the door and stuff like that. If my kids thought I was injured, my kids would be freaking out. You would hear the crying. You would hear the yelling. You'd hear, where's mommy? What's going on with mommy? Mm-hmm. Things like that. You don't hear any of that. But magically, when he goes and writes this book that he has, now he has his daughter participating in writing this book, which is weird in and of itself. But she's now inserting herself into the story, saying that she met her dad at the bathroom door and she saw her mom's legs. So if that's the case, then she's not in the shower. Right. Which that kind of changes the narrative as well. So was she in the shower? Was she not? You hear him in the 911 call say that he has to turn off the water so that he can hear the lady. Then they ask, where's the weapon? He said it's by her, which means that if she was in the shower and he got her out of the shower, then that means he moved the weapon as well. But again, you've got all these little nuances and nothing happens with this.
No investigation.
Well, No, they didn't come back until days later with warrants to be able to seize his electronics and stuff like that and take pictures of him. He claims that they made him get naked and take pictures that day, but it's clearly on the warrants when they came back that that's what they were coming back for. So they weren't looking for anything. I guess they just assumed that this was the case. But here's the thing, his mom, works for probate. And one of the things that has always stood out to me is that the CAD report for the case states that Andy is the claimant, and so is his mom. So I contacted Gary Gullidge, and I just did it under the guise of just like, hey, just a quick question, like, what's your standard operating procedure for somebody to be the person that's in this spot, just this spot on your report?
He's a complainant.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah, the complainant. Sorry. And then, so he forwards me over to somebody else to answer that question. And she writes back and she says, well, they had to have called either 911 or they had to have called the non-emergency number. Okay. So that means that there's more than one call that went in. If that's the case, because, you know, I asked the question like, okay, so if the mom like takes over the phone call, why is she on there and the dad's not? Because the dad also got on the phone call at one point. And again, so it had to have been 2 separate phone calls. And so that was one of the things that kind of stood out to me. So I asked him, I said, do you record the non-emergency members? And the response was, which one? And I was like, saving that. You know, because I was like, that's crazy. But, so with this case, I mean, as time has gone on, you know, they have not ruled it a suicide. They have not ruled it a homicide. They've just left it dangling in the wind.
I thought you said they did rule it as a suicide. No?
No.
And just for the audience, I know we hadn't discussed that in this podcast, but Amy and I talked about this before. So, yeah, so they haven't said suicide.
No, the coroner came in and the coroner said something is off with this. Basically, the coroner's report said that the wall next to the toilet had been cleaned off, or what she said looked like it had been cleaned off. And so she's the one who sent Heather to the GBI for, they did a cranial autopsy. So, and that was it.
You mentioned something about the angle of the gun. Like what?
So, yeah, and that's one of the things too, is that allegedly, because I haven't seen the actual autopsy report because they won't release it, but from the what has been reported back to the Justice for Heather Turner page, because I was an admin of that page for a while, what was reported back to that page was that the one of the reports says the bullet wound went in the right side, came out the lower left, and the other one says it's the other way, and her non-dominant hand would have been her left hand. So that would have been awkward if that was the case. And on top of that, even if it was her dominant hand, there was no stippling on her skin, which meant that it happened, I think it's like 30 inches away.
What's stippling again?
Stippling is the burning that happens on the skin from the gun.
Just
like shoots.
Right out the barrel.
Yeah.
So there was no stippling on the head.
No.
There's the burn comes out the barrel.
Yes.
All right. So he's saying that she's in the shower and she used her non-dominant hand to pull the gun up to her and just shoot. Where was the entry hole in her?
It depends on who you ask, but from what I've been told from forensic experts is that it's the smaller hole that is the entry wound, and that was above her right ear. And then the exit would have been in the lower left jaw area.
Wow, so they're saying she was pointing the gun down.
Yes.
Allegedly. Okay. And there's another set of holes? Because didn't you say earlier? No,
it just depends. The other report is saying basically she shot at an angle up versus down.
Okay, got it. Wild. All right, and you said mom was in probate. Correct me if I'm wrong. Probate is a court. Sometimes those courts deal with traffic violations and other crimes. I don't know if that's how.
I don't know.
That's in the smaller counties they do. I don't know, but this is right here in Paulding County, Georgia.
Yeah, so they're the ones who do your vital records, your gun licenses, your marriage licenses, all of those types of things.
Okay. And is there any perception that the authorities in charge might be covering this up?
There's always that possibility.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, there's some things like afterwards, a relative of Heather's was asking for some visitation rights with the daughter. And, during that particular hearing, he admitted, that they were never actually married, but yet there was a marriage certificate that he forged, and he admitted to forging, that was filed into the very probate court that his mom works in. But people aren't looking at those types of things. Do I think there's any like shenanigans on the police side? Not so much in that regard. I think it might be some protect your own type thing. I could be wrong, but I've seen a lot of stuff in this case.
And there's still, I mean, if it's been this long, 7 years or so? This is 2017 when it happened, right?
Yes.
So 7 years later, it doesn't appear they're going to do much. Am I wrong, or is it?
I don't know. People are holding out hope for the new sheriff because there was a new sheriff that just came in. Why Paulding County did their sheriff election on May 21st instead of holding it during a normal election when like everybody's going to be coming out is completely beyond me. But that's what happened. So he'll take office in January. And so people are hoping that, new eyes is going to mean something new. I don't think it's going to mean something new. I think Andy is going to be the type of person that is going to be like Al Capone. It's going to go down for something else. It's not going to be this. So will there ever be justice? It'll be justice by proxy.
I see. So it won't be the murder. He'll be found with a kilo of cocaine or something and you're there. Okay.
I was thinking not drugs. I don't think it'll be drugs.
No. Wow. And you said he wrote a book about what happened?
Oh, yeah. It's not just a book about what happened, though. The book is written with his with all of his kids, and his new wife too, which is weird. But it's basically written about like sneering his ex-wife, talking about the one that had died and what had happened, talking about all the people that were involved, doing things like calling, the investigating officer an Oompa Loompa, just like a lot of ad hominem weird stuff that's thrown in there. And it's for show.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Wow.
Okay. Well, I'm usually on the side of innocence versus guilt. I'm kind of the bleeding heart type. I'd rather see somebody free rather than the wrong man in prison. But in this situation, it sounds like it needs to be investigated heavily.
It does. He had a girlfriend right afterward that he was with for a few years. And he ended up with a restraining order and stuff like that from her because he was abusive to her as well. Jeez. And it's been a whole mess. It's just been a whole mess. And her story is, she's got them all over TikTok and stuff talking about the things that they did.
I still don't get why they don't investigate. I don't know. Some say it's mom's connection. Some say it's dad's connection. Some say it's because his uncle's the chaplain for the county too. I don't know. Yeah. All right. And you mentioned a good point earlier. You said no woman, if she's going to kill herself, is going to do it while she's nude. That's the thing that is very important to note. There was no like blood spatter everywhere. There was no bullet wound like to the floor or to the walls or anything like that. So yeah, the only thing that you do have is that one area that the coroner notes has been wiped out. Jeez, I don't see how the bullet would not at least chip the tile or something in the bathroom. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Pillows? I don't know. Towels? I don't know. All right. Something. I don't know. Not if she did it. Yeah, if he was staging it, then yeah, he could have set it up. But anyway. Oh, Lordy. Well, I hope there's some justice on that. And what's your involvement? You're just investigating this, or are you helping? I've been advocating and doing things like helping to collect FOIAs, seeing what we can get, things like that. Just trying to put pieces together. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's pretty much it. That's one of the things I've been doing a lot of, more recently is, because I love doing FOIA. And I guess that's like the legal nerd. And tell the audience what that is. It's the Freedom of Information Act, okay. And which is federal, of course, but on the states we have Open Records Acts. And it's to be able to get documents from the government because there's supposed to be transparency. And so that's one of the things I like doing. So I've been kind of helping out here and there. And haven't really attached myself solidly to like one case that I advocate for, but been doing
little bits and pieces for a whole lot of cases.
You find it hard to get information?
No.
No? They'll reveal, they'll disclose it?
Yeah.
Good.
I haven't had a lot of trouble. Actually, I had the GBI slip up and give me things they probably shouldn't have.
Really?
Yeah.
We'll find it. It seems like if there's an ongoing investigation, they're a little bit more closed. Like they're less inclined to just give you the stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And of course, they cite the fact that, it's an open investigation, which is, I think, that could be part of the police shenanigans, is them keeping it open just so you can't get those types of things. But is that what happened? I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Did you follow the Murdaugh trial any?
I did not.
No?
No.
That was an interesting one.
My friend.
That's a whole nother podcast or two. But
listen, I have somebody for you to talk about with that one.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, well, we'll circle back on that.
She went to the trial.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It all happened close to where I'm from. I didn't know that family or anything, but so yeah, all that was happening near where I was from in South Carolina. So I don't know, I felt somewhat connected.
My daughter's from Beaufort.
Okay.
Or not from Beaufort, but she lives in Beaufort.
Okay. All right. Now, before we close, we were talking briefly about another case you'd been involved with that seemed quite fascinating.
Okay.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? It involved a suitcase.
Oh, yeah. So, recently, I had just started digging into this one and started getting into, because I don't tend to get involved with a lot of new cases because there's so much stuff that lingers out there. There's so many conspiracy theories and all of that. So with that particular case, I was asked to come on the show and talk about it, with the people who were going to be on the panel. And so I was like, okay, cool. I would love to do this. And so I spent a lot of time digging into that case, and it was the case of Sarah Boone, and it's in Florida. It is the biggest hot mess that I have seen. She's on her 9th lawyer.
Jeez.
Her 9th lawyer. She's
the defendant.
Yes.
Okay, so she's charged with
murder. She's charged with a murder boyfriend. Because she zipped him up in a suitcase and filmed him begging to be let out, saying he couldn't breathe. And she literally filmed him dying. Like she got up and left and went to go sleep. So she says. But I mean, and then she comes back and he's dead. It is a mess, but this girl, procedurally speaking, it's interesting to look at because of all of the attorneys that she's gone through. I was just talking about this in one of my classes that I teach last night because we had ethics night.
Okay.
And we were talking about this and we were talking about confidentiality. And so we were pulling up and we were talking about her attorneys and having to withdraw from her cases. And they're sitting there saying, well, it's very difficult, for me to, maintain confidentiality and express to the court my need to get out of this case. But it says things like it's become adversarial, the relationship with her. And it says things like, and all I can say to the court is the court should tell her that she is not allowed to do what she wants to do. And I'm like, what is it? What is it? Now I need to know. So I have no idea, but she had been denied. She'd been, I guess, trying to get money for private attorneys and stuff like that. And she's gone through 8 attorneys so far. And then finally she put out this handwritten ad for this 9th one. And somebody came along and picked it up.
I guess for some notoriety or something.
Probably. They claim they're sticking it out. We'll see.
We'll see for sure. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, because the bottom line is, she gets to determine her overall objective, but the attorney gets to figure out how we're going to navigate there, right?
Right.
And if she doesn't like how the attorney wants to navigate, then what's going to happen? It's going to come adversarial again.
That's right. I've never heard of that. 9 attorneys.
9 attorneys.
Jeez.
She's been at it for 4 years now.
Maybe it's a delay tactic too. I don't know.
Could
She
be.
keeps starting over. Judges got to get old and say, all right, we're going to trial on this day. I don't care if it's your 50th attorney. This is when trial happens.
But see, people also have been talking about the fact that, maybe this is her way of trying to get somebody to go, oh, she must be crazy or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, she hasn't put forth an insanity defense yet.
No?
No.
It would seem there would be time for that. Although I think it's bullshit. If it's there to use, I guess use it. But
yeah.
Oh, it was insane. I just thought the suitcase was going to help him lose weight, or I don't be a healthier person. I don't
They
know.
were playing hide and seek, she said.
Did she really say that?
Yeah.
Playing hide.
They were playing hide and seek.
Wow. Were they fighting before? Was this a bad relationship? I would imagine something.
They have a toxic relationship. Both of them had previous battery charges against each other.
Okay.
Yeah.
A suitcase. I don't see. It would seem you could hit the zipper or something.
I know, but
Okay.
I don't know why that happened. I don't know if it got stuck. I don't know if maybe he was intoxicated and couldn't figure it out. I don't know.
Yeah.
But there's video, and it's scary.
Oh my goodness. You've heard it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll have to follow that one. All right. Well, listen, Amy, it has been a pleasure and an honor.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, and I want to thank you too for helping the guys on parole and all. That's an important service. I think they're forgotten, and like you said, some of these guys don't even have families, nobody to fight for them. So well done on helping these people. That's a big deal.
It's the least I can do. Write letters, advocate, help gather information, do what I can do.
Yeah, good deal. All right. Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
And everybody, it's been another Hines On Air. We hope you enjoyed. If you haven't already, click the button below and subscribe, like the video, and please leave any comments. Otherwise, we'll see you at the next Hines On Air. Hines On Air is for you. Remember to subscribe, like, and leave a review whenever you listen to podcasts. Your support helps us reach more people and continue sharing these incredible stories.